Hey guys, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and it is Sunday, and we are doing breaches of the week. And as always, I'd like to thank the following people that linked me, sent me messages, tagged me, whatever that was. It's always appreciated when you guys send me information. So Chris Fallon, Mark Hamill, Jugdish Pravati, guys, thank you very much. And if you have a tip for me, please send it in and I will give you a shout out as well. Now, let's start in Montana with Havre Public Schools. This past Tuesday, they got ransomware that basically crippled their computer system. They determined it was Ryuk ransomware and they are working to resolve that right now. So hopefully Havre Public Schools in Montana will be up shortly if they aren't already. Moving on, let's talk about Estee Lauder. This is the multi-billion-dollar makeup corporation, a non-password protected cloud database containing hundreds of millions of customer records and internal logs for Estee Lauder was found exposed online. In all, 440,336,852 individual data pieces were exposed. So they are saying no customer information was hit here. Hopefully that is true. Moving on, let's talk about a U.S. education nonprofit organization that goes undisclosed. They appear to have unwittingly leaked the personal information of thousands of students after leaving two online databases exposed, and I quote, although the database itself did not contain documents, it did contain links with active access tokens to documents stored elsewhere. Links to passport scans, application forms, visas, emails, and other documents were discovered. So heads up, if you work in educational nonprofit, we may be talking about you. Moving on, let's talk about Wake County, North Carolina. Their former flexible benefit spending account administrator, Interactive Medical Systems, recently reported that they experienced a data security breach and disclosed the personal information of nearly 1,900 Wake County government employees to an unauthorized third party. So heads up, Wake County employees, but we will see if Interactive Medical Systems is going to basically have other customers that are going to come out of the woodwork in the next few weeks. Moving on, let's talk about Next Motion. They're out of France. They are a plastic surgery tech firm that provides imaging and patient management services to 170 plastic surgery clinics in 35 countries. And you know where I'm going with this. They expose hundreds of thousands of documents in a misconfigured Amazon AWS S3 bucket. So if you use a plastic surgeon or you are a plastic surgeon that uses Next Motion, heads up, your patient information is out there, aka HIPAA breach here in the United States. Moving on, let's talk about Quaker Steak and Lube, which is a hysterical name for a restaurant in the United States, which these are in the Midwest and Eastern U.S. They got hit through their point of sale system with malware and basically had credit cards stolen between some period of time, weeks to months, in 2019. So heads up if you have eaten at a Quaker Steak and Lube in the year 2019. Moving on, we're going to be talking about Rockdale County. They just got a ransomware hit on February 6th, which affected multiple servers in the county. And basically, this started with a phishing email, and they are working to resolve that now. So heads up, Rockdale County citizens and employees. Moving on, let's talk about Ride London. This is basically a group that organizes a major cycling event in London in the UK, and they believe that less than 2,100 people were affected by an issue where they received the wrong ballot in the mail. So in other words, you went online, you punched in all of your information, and they were supposed to send you something, and you got somebody else's. So that kind of sucks. Heads up, Ride London. They are saying that only 3%, though, of their entire people, or rather of the entire constituency that did sign up for this, is affected. And hopefully that's where it ends. Moving on, let's talk about Fifth Third Bank. This is a major bank in the United States. They're notifying customers, and this is crazy, that some of their employees may have stolen, actually, no, not may have stolen customer information. And I quote, the information was stolen by a small number of employees who provided it to people outside of the bank. According to the authorities and based on our own internal investigation, we have terminated employees involved in any wrongdoing. It did not specify the number of employees nor the number of customers affected. Heads up, Fifth Bank users. Moving on. Let's talk about Altice or Altice USA Incorporated. In November 2019, multiple Altice employees fell victim to a phishing email scam Personal information that may have been accessed included names, employment information, dates of birth, social security numbers, and some driver's license numbers. So heads up employees and customers of Altice USA Inc. Moving on, we're going to be talking about a convenience store chain known as Rudders. I believe they're out of Pennsylvania. They say they were attacked by malware and customers' information was compromised. They're saying at least 70 of their locations were impacted by this data breach between October of 2018 to May of 2019. So if you shop there between those time periods, heads up, your credit card may be compromised. Moving on, we're heading down to New Zealand and Ned Bank. They are warning clients after a data breach because 1.7 million clients potentially are affected here. They are saying that they have investigated a data security issue that occurred with one of their third-party providers, a company called Computer Facilities, which is a direct marketing company that issues SMS and email marketing information on behalf of Ned Bank and a number of other companies. So we may see more disclosures thanks to Computer Facilities coming out soon. A subset of the potentially compromised information in Computer Facilities included personal names such as names, ID numbers, telephone numbers, physical and or email addresses, and basically this is for Ned Bank customers, so heads up to you. Moving on, I want to give you guys an update on Target. Now, if you recall, tens of millions, actually it was over 100 million, credit cards were stolen a few years ago. I want to say about 5-6 years ago at this point. And that was one of the largest data breaches in U.S. history. And so we have an update from Brian Krebs, and I quote Mr. Krebs, "The breach at Target Corp that exposed credit card and personal data on more than 110 million consumers appears to have begun with a malware-laced email phishing attack sent to employees at an HVAC firm that did business with the nationwide retailer, according to the sources close to the investigation. This really underscores the need for not only a very good spam filter, but awareness training for your employees." That is your Target data breach update. Thank you very much, Brian Krebs. Moving on. We're heading down to Jamaica, and we're talking about Victoria Mutual Group. Victoria Mutual Group. A member of the VM Wealth team inadvertently sent an email to a subset of VM Wealth clients with an attachment containing non-financial information on some clients. Basically, clients figured out who the other clients were by virtue of this. They've obviously are looking to mitigate that, but that is a very serious issue for them. So heads up, Victoria Mutual Group customers in Jamaica or out of Jamaica. Moving on, let's talk about the Idaho Central Credit Union. They basically just delivered a notice of data breach on February 6th, and they say they discovered suspicious activity related to a third-party mortgage portal that their employees use. Basically, they discovered this possible issue on November 5th, and by November 8th, they were able to confirm that somebody did breach that portal, and they said a 2-month investigation turned up that customer information was present, including name, date of birth, social security, social security account information, tax identification number, and information on borrowers, liabilities, assets, employment, and income. So heads up if you use Idaho Central Credit Union. I wonder if Napoleon Dynamite's brother Kip was the one that did this because he has sweet hacking skills and is from Preston, Idaho. That's the kind of nerd that I am. Moving on, let's talk about Pasco Corp and Kobe Steel. They came together jointly in an article here because they are both Japanese military contractors. Pasco Corp is an aerial image surveillance provider and basically has ties to the Japanese Ministry of Defense to deliver satellite images and monitoring work on various defense bases, etc., etc. Kobe Steel manufactures underwater launch tubes for Japanese submarines and also supplies critical spare parts to the Japan Self-Defense Force. Therefore, this intrusion is going to be possibly very damaging to the Japanese military. Now, they are saying no damage has been done in either data breach and no information leakage has been discovered, but we're going to see if any critical, sensitive, or let's say proprietary intellectual property was hit. Moving on, let's talk about the very last thing we're going to be talking about here, and thanks for bearing with me here. If you couldn't tell, my throat's a little scratchy. I'm not feeling so hot today. We're going to be talking about third-party email apps that you can use for both Apple and Android devices. A lot of us use third-party email apps because the native built-in, let's say Apple Mail or iOS Mail or whatnot, just limits and lacks a lot of different things. But there are problems with these that are creating personal data breaches for millions of people, and it's unbeknownst to a lot of users. And so this is a new privacy investigation by Motherboard, which is part of Vice News, found that many companies that are making these third-party email apps for both iOS and Mac, in this case, are actually scraping data from users' inboxes and selling that data to advertising and marketing companies. Now, one of the most popular third-party apps outside of the native apps that Apple provides is Edison. This was considered the worst offender by Vice News, which scrapes users' email inboxes and sells products based off that information to clients in the finance, travel, and e-commerce sectors. That is a quote from the article. According to J.P. Morgan, which was basically they are one of these contractors, or they're one of these people that buy these services. Motherboard received a document regarding that, and that basically the contents of Edison user mailboxes are, quote, of particular interest to companies who can buy the data to make better investment decisions. Basically, your email is being data mined. So Edison does acknowledge that it processes users' email, but most users are unaware that the company is actually going through their inbox for profit. Now, you'll recall, Google has been doing this for years, and about a couple of years ago, Google said they are going to stop data mining and scraping your free Gmail accounts to basically look for, more advanced advertising for you. They've actually stopped. That is yet to be seen, but here we are. Additional documentation provided by Motherboard shows that at least two other major popular third-party mail apps, that's CleanFox and Slice, are also selling products based on users' emails. So here's how this works. What you have in a situation like this is a third-party app that is not actually going and logging directly into your email provider itself, let's say Office 365. What it's doing is you're actually logging in to their cloud, their server, which is then turning around and logging in to your Office 365, whatever email service you're using. And so you're storing their credentials, they're replicating that information down, and you're giving them unfettered access to your mailbox so that they can data mine you and sell this information. That is a very serious issue that is not publicly disclosed, which I think is probably going to be illegal in a lot of countries. But that means that the millions or tens of millions of people that have been using Edison and CleanFox and Slice and a slew of others basically have their own personal data breach and their privacy violated here. And so that's why it's the last thing we're going to be talking about today. And I think that absolutely sucks that they are doing that. So heads up, Edison, CleanFox, Slice, and any person that is using a third-party mail app on their mobile phone, beware, it could be scraping you, data mining you, and selling that information to God knows who, including J.P. Morgan, which I think a lot of people know. So anyway, those are your breaches of the week. Were you affected? Let me know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.